What up, Political Brawlers? It's your girl, Olivia Rondo, back at you with another reaction video. Today, we are talking about Biden's mental decline, the great cover-up of Biden's mental decline, his mental capacity clearly diminished. To anyone with two eyes, maybe even just one eye, maybe just two brain cells actually, could see that that man clearly has dementia, Alzheimer's. I don't know, I'm not a medical doctor, but something is wrong with his brain. Now, let's just take a look at what's going on here, the excuses that people have made.
Michael, you're going to come on this program and you're going to look America in the eye and you're going to tell us that you did not see any cognitive decline in Joe Biden because we saw it, we chronicled it starting in 2019. You're going to tell us that?
Well, I am, because I've been very consistent about that, Sean, with all of your colleagues on all of the Fox News programming since I left the White House and at the end of 2022, that my 3 years
Michael, let me interrupt you.
In the White House.
Michael.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I think you're full of crap. Let me be honest. Let me be straight here. We have tape after tape after tape. I could spend the next hour. We spent an hour on Friday playing him struggling, shaking air, not knowing where to go, talking to dead people. He could barely utter a sentence. He was a shell of his former self. Now, either you don't have eyes to see or ears to hear, or you're just, politically blinded, if I'm going to be charitable, or just a political hack. But you can't say you didn't see it. I don't believe you.
Okay, so Sean, you have the highest rated programming on Fox News on the highest rated cable network. And in 2019 and 2020, the American people saw the same thing and had the same access that you did. And he still won by 7 million votes and has the most votes ever received by any president in American history.
So, last question.
That's still debatable to me. I still do not believe that Joe Biden got 81 million votes in 2020. I'm sorry. There's no way you can convince me. Okay, so to respond to Michael's point here, to be clear, I do not believe a single word out of his mouth. I do not believe he was politically blinded. I think that Hannity is being very generous when he says that a political hack is even kind of being a little bit too generous. I think these people were simply bought and paid for, shills, grifters, and liars, because even if you're, I guess, blinded by politics, let's say you're the biggest Biden supporter ever, you have supported his entire 50 or 60-year long career in politics, you cannot be an honest person and say, I have not noticed a cognitive decline. You can't, especially if you work as closely to him as a special assistant to the president, which is what Michael did right here. And saying, oh, okay, in 2019, yeah, the American people had access to the same things. First of all, not really. There's a lot of tape that has come out later. And yeah, Fox was really early on it in 2019. I would say in 2019, things were a little bit more explainable. They clearly got worse after he entered office. So I find that such a cop-out. Okay, let's say maybe it wasn't 81 million. I would say a couple mil less than that. But, about half of the country did vote for Joe Biden. That is pretty undeniable, or at least half the country supported him. Okay, pretty undeniable, right? Even in 2019, 2020, it was not this bad, y'all. It was not this bad. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Like, we went from the corny little corn pop stories and stories where he was talking about, and I was in the pool and I was a lifeguard and the kids used to stroke my leg hair in the pool, and he used to, he'd be on TV sniffing people's wives' hair and sniffing little girls' hair and stuff. He was definitely being a creepy old man, definitely a crotchety, old, just freaking weird guy, but he wasn't shaking the air and wandering around the stage and bringing up people who have been dead for years, if not decades. It's getting to the point where it's not creepy old man territory. It's he should be in a home. But let's continue. President
in American history.
So, last
I'm not here to defend the
cover-up. Did you not see it during the debate? Did you see it during the debate?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
That was the first time you saw it.
It wasn't.
Sean, it was the first time many people saw it.
During the debate, to claim that your first time seeing the decline was during the debate is insane, because the debate between Biden and Trump last year, that was not even the worst of it. I think that was the most viewed live moment of it, that was actually far from the worst moment. There are many times prior to that where he's walking on stage, walking around on stage, not knowing he's supposed to go to the podium, not knowing how to exit the stage after. His calling cards, his teleprompter is like reminding him that he's the president of the United States. It's like the debate was just the cherry on top of the cake.
Yes, it was.
I don't believe any of you. I just don't believe it. I think you're so politically biased. You can't see through.
No, Sean.
You hate Trump so much you can't see through the lens of politics. Let me bring Miranda in to be fair. Miranda.
Yeah, hi, Sean. Look, I think Michael's perspective is really interesting because there are a lot of people who weren't all that close to Joe Biden every day who said that he had good days and bad days. He had good hours and bad hours. And Jill Biden and Anthony Bernal and a couple of other aides kept Joe Biden away from the public. And especially, he faded towards the end of his presidency much more obviously. So Michael wasn't there to see that. And I'm not sure if Michael had the same sort of access to the residents and to Joe Biden. Did Michael watch TV?
Michael, did you watch TV? Did you watch TV, Michael? Did you follow the news?
Yes, I did, and so did the 83 million people who voted for him in 2020. I do. And I know that you're a student of history, and I know that you, Sean, remember when Nancy Reagan was hiring and firing staff, and she was ousting the White House chief of staff, and her daughter were influencing decisions and advising on Iran-Contra.
I will take Reagan, and I studied his presidency. And in his worst moment, it doesn't ever compare to Joe Biden in his best moment from 2019 forward. Miranda.
And yet he still got more votes than Donald Trump ever did.
Sure.
And yet.
Oh, my gosh, you're broken. He would have gotten his ass kicked.
Okay, so I'm not even a Reagan fan, so I'm not going to be sitting here being a Nancy Reagan defender. That's that's not a real argument. It's such a fallacy. I mean, you're bringing up an administration from decades ago that is really not relevant at all to bring up today for most topics, especially not this topic that's at hand here. And again, at the end, Hannity was pretty generous, saying, oh, you're blinded by your political bias. You just hate Trump that much. It's not just bias, and he's not blind. He 100% saw the decline. He's just a grifter, and he's just a liar. I feel like we have to stop giving the left the benefit of the doubt when it comes to this issue specifically, but also in a broader sense, because why are we helping them? I mean, they don't give us any help. They're not like, well, maybe they didn't know. They immediately jump to the worst possible conclusion, the worst possible assumption every single time. And this guy was not a random liberal. He's not like a random CNN viewer. He's not even just a Democrat lawmaker. He was a special assistant to former President Biden. He interacted with Biden on a regular basis, as much as Dr. Jill let him, I suppose. And yeah, another thing is Dr. Jill, and I say doctor to be funny, y'all, and her chief of staff, who I believe was Anthony Bernal, the man just mentioned, they are actually the ones who allegedly, this is all alleged, okay, this is alleged, were basically running the day-to-day of the White House and the day-to-day of the country. They were making major decisions when President Biden was more or less incapacitated. He could not be trusted to make those decisions. He didn't have the mental facilities or capabilities to make those decisions. If you guys want to read Original Sin by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, which purports to have all these interviews that show that Dr. Jill and Anthony Bernal and all these other White House staffers were actually running the country and covering up Biden's mental decline, go ahead and do so. I have read excerpts from the book, and I have read follow-up interviews with people who were quoted in the book and things of that nature, but I just don't feel the need to spend money on the book and spend a lot of time reading the book when we all saw this play out on TV since 2019. We know that there was a mental decline. We know that there was an orchestrated effort to cover it up. And we know that his wife was kind of in charge of it. And I'm not saying that Dr. Jill is like an evil person. I really don't know who was really at the tippity top pulling the puppet strings. All I know is if this was a normal marriage and neither of these people were in the public eye, and Joe Biden was maybe a high school principal and Dr. Joe was just his wife, and she was pulling the strings at his high school to keep up this whole facade while he's in the back pooping his Depends, she'd be in jail for elder abuse. She'd be in jail for a lot of stuff right now. So let's try to look at it as you would look at the elderly couple next door or even your own grandparents. Is that how you would treat your grandfather? Would you shove him out and make him keep doing his job every day when he doesn't even understand what's going on? And I really despise the Biden family. I really do not like Joe Biden. I didn't like him before he was president. I didn't like him. You know, I'm in Gen Z, okay? So I didn't grow up, you know, watching him as a senator. And I really don't have a great memory of him as vice president because I was like 15 when Obama left office, which granted, that's early enough to remember, but I didn't have political opinions back then, so I don't know what was going on. And all that being said, everything I'm aware about Biden, I do not like, but I just feel like a sense of dread when I think about, you know, he used to be a fiery guy on the Senate floor. If you've watched him debate and you've watched him hash stuff out on the Senate floor, he was a guy who was argumentative, he was talkative, he was definitely all the way there in the head. And to see him now and to see him over the last couple of years, it is depressing. It makes me feel bad for him, and I do not like him. I do not like him. You know, as a man who, he lost his wife and young baby daughter in a very tragic accident. He loses his adult son to cancer years ago. And then his other son, Hunter, is a crackhead. This man has had you know, for all his faults, he's had a very long and very difficult life. Even if he wasn't the president, had all this on his plate. So just to put him out there, to keep embarrassing him and embarrassing your family, basically all for money and all for political power the last couple of years, it's disgusting. And so, Michael, all the special assistants who are still maintaining that they never saw a decline, they never covered up a decline, and it was only apparent that, you know, at the debate, screw you. Really screw you, because you're being a dishonest liar, and I don't appreciate it. So let me know what you guys think. Please write in the comments below, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to Politibrawl News, and I will see y'all another time. Bye.